In this lesson, we're going to be applying CSS to our website. So when we look at our original design here, we see that, well, we've got the kind of the same idea, but it doesn't look anything like what we want it to look like, the layout. And this is where CSS comes in. It allows us to transform all of this, just text, images, and elements into a more usable format. So we've already linked in that CSS file. So this is locally within that same directory style CSS as index.html, and this is where I'm able to just link it to that file name. So of course, depending on where your file name is, where your file is located, that's where you've got to update the link to. So I'm going to actually minimize a lot of the HTML here because we're going to be looking now predominantly at the CSS, and we still will have to refer back to some of the elements here within the HTML, but we're going to predominantly be going over CSS within the course now from this point on. So let's open up that CSS file and start adding in our CSS. So first thing that we want to do, we want to identify the body, and this is when we create CSS, the best way to structure your CSS is to make it from the largest elements first. So we see that our HTML starts out with body, and this is where we're going to start out our CSS with body. So maybe we want to add in a particular background color, and we want to make it beige or something like that. So we're going to start out with this background color of beige with it on the main body. Another thing that we do, and I actually did forget to add in some hyperlinks. So hyperlinks, of course, are essential part of the internet. They allow you to link between pages, and these are again going to be placeholders, more for the fact that we will have some hyperlinks other than the fact that they're actually going to be going somewhere. So this is just to demonstrate that we're going to have some hyperlinks within our code, and I'm going to add some additional ones down there. So we get a better feel for when we're adding in how we want our hyperlinks to look like, that we get a better feel for them. So there's one hyperlink, and I believe there's another one. And then of course these nav links are hyperlinks as well. But we are going to be updating those. So let's look at the next thing that's fairly large within our website. So we're not going to dive into any of these smaller containers first, but we want to look at our website as a whole, and we want to see what type of color we want to use for our hyperlinks. And we can also identify for paragraphs here. So paragraphs would typically have text in them, so we can add in a text color and so on. Or even up here in the body, maybe we want to have a text color, and so maybe we want all of our text to be dark gray or something like that. So see how that looks, and probably not the best, but let's update this to be close to black. And of course, when we do our real design with our colors and so on, then we can make updates to this really easily. So the next thing is hyperlinks. So what color do we want our hyperlinks? So by default within websites, they're going to be blue with an underline. So this is where we can update them. So maybe we want it to fit in more with our color scheme, and maybe we want to go with blue-violet color. So save that and refresh it. And so now they're going to be a blue-violet color. And one of the things I never really like about hyperlinks is that they have those the underlines. So this is something that we can get rid of as well. And this is for site-wide. We're going to get rid of it. We're just going to do text decoration none. Save that and refresh it. So now we've got our hyperlinks, and of course they're not really as evident as hyperlinks, but we do see that they are presented within our website. And once we come up with our color scheme, then we can really make a nice update to this. So one other thing with hyperlinks, they might not really be standing out as hyperlinks. So this is where I usually like to add in hover, because this gives us that ability to add that text decoration back in. So it doesn't take away from our original presentation of the content, but it does give the user the ability to say, okay, well, this must be a hyperlink, because whenever I hover over it, it does the underline. So we see that now they're being brought back in, and when the user's going through the code, if they're unsure if it's a hyperlink, they hover over it, we see we've got our text decoration comes back. So that's another important thing to add in, just to make sure that you've got your nice presentation of that content. So this, essentially this is our main top level container where we've got our body, our hyperlinks, and if you want to add in for the headings, a lot of times you'll see as well people take care of their H1 tags, their heading tags here as well. Although we're not really using a lot of heading tags, so I'm going to skip through that. But this is where you would add in how you want your headings presented, how you want your paragraphs, spacing between paragraphs, and just overall what you want to happen within your website. So let's move to the next level, and the next level is this wrapper. So we've created a wrapper for the entire website, and this is to make it more responsive. So what I want to do is I want to set max width to it, and what max width is going to allow us to do, when we resize, it'll go back to 100%, but it won't try to take over larger than 100%. So it gives us the best of both worlds. So let's identify the wrapper and give it a max width. So this is different than width, because max width, when it's smaller than 100%, then it will, or smaller than the width size, then it will allow us to adjust the sizing to 100%. So I'm going to do max width of 1200 pixels. And when we do this, we still need to center the content, because let's say we get bigger than 100 pixels. Well, the problem here is that we're actually sizing over that max width. And another thing with the wrapper, maybe I'm going to do a background color and add in a white background color so that we can easier identify it. So this is our main wrapper area, and we see that once we get over 1200, well, it's pulling over to the left. And this is an easy fix, and again, we need to look at within the wrapper where we need to set our margins and top and bottom margins. So we're using the shorthand for margin, where we're able to identify all the different margins. So the first one, we'll do a margin 0. This is applying to all of the elements, and this is where we can apply and look to the box model, because this gives us a better idea of how the margins are going to work. So we've got a top and a bottom, we're setting those to 0, and we want to set the right and left to auto, and we can just do that by adding in auto. So it will automatically center that right and left margin, and then we've got border and padding as well within the box model. So refreshing that, now whenever I go out to the larger size, we see that it's automatically centering it, because it's applying that left and right size. And I just got to make sure I'm getting to the top level here, to the wrapper. So we see that automatically it's applying 231.5, 231.5, and top and bottom is still 0. When I make it larger, I can see that I'm now applying at 286, and this is what the auto is doing, that it's allowing us to automatically split it 50-50 across both sides, and effectively centering our element by doing that. So the next lesson, we're going to dive deeper into different containers within our website. So these are this is the main content area, the body, how we're handling our content within our website as a whole. This is where we can set all of our default colors that we want to use and so on. And then we've got our wrapper, which is going to contain all of those containers as well.